For all your medical supply needs, visit MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmetts Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited, your trusted source for medical essentials.
And a pleasant good morning to all of you listeners on Q100.7 FM, and welcome to another edition of the Pulse Radio Show, a production of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in collaboration with CBC. I'm Shane Seeley, Communications Specialist with the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, and we got a real special show for you today. A number of firsts, actually. So this one will be the first of our radio shows which is being recorded for television. Yes, you heard it. We are going to TV and YouTube as well. So look out for that. You'll get some more details on where you can go to watch now these episodes of the Pulse Radio Show. And for this one, which is episode 2 in season 2, it's the first time that we will welcome in studio. You would have heard him on other programs last season when he was in the office, but he's here with us at the CBC, our Chief Operations Officer, Chief Executive Officer. How can I make a mistake like that? That's because I'm accustomed to seeing Christine next to me. Dr. Greenidge, she's earned a much needed rest, and now we have our Chief Executive Officer here with us, Neil Clark. Welcome, Neil. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you, and good morning. Good morning, everybody.
So we are discussing today a very important roadmap. It's really the way forward for the hospital. But before we get to that, because I know that people have been waiting to hear where the hospital goes next, where their hospital, our hospital goes next, we want to set the tone today by talking about your first 6 months here in Barbados, a new experience for you, and then coming here to run our hospital, your first 6 months at the helm of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. How's it been?
Yes, it's been an amazing time. 6 months has flown by so fast. I feel like I only arrived yesterday sometimes. I've had an amazing time in Barbados, meeting the people of Barbados and the culture, and of course the beautiful beaches. And I've also had a very busy time in the hospital, meeting as many of the staff as I can, understanding the dynamics and how it works, how it all comes together, understanding the challenges, and working with the teams to work out how we can move forward and improve the Queen Elizabeth Hospital for the population of Barbados. It is a beautiful team in that hospital. There are some amazing, compassionate and dynamic people, and I'm really proud to have them on my team. Maybe I should start off, Shane, by just outlining what I've been doing for the last 6 months.
Indeed.
So I've been meeting with as many of the team as possible. My door's open, people come in, they see me, they talk to me, they tell me their concerns, and I listen and I triangulate what I hear. So I've been meeting with as many people as possible, and I've also been developing what's called, and it sounds a bit dull, it's called a governance framework. But the governance framework is really important because it identifies how the hospital is governed and how we operate. It clarifies who is responsible for what and how we make decisions. And that's at the individual director level, and then also at the different committees and management board level. It clarifies all that, and it's a good exercise for me because it helped me understand the current operating practice within the hospital. And it also helped me reinforce them back to the directors and the directorate teams who was responsible for what. So we don't get duplication and we have clarity of those roles and responsibilities, which is really important. Once we'd completed that governance framework, I moved on to developing what I call a balanced scorecard. Now, balanced scorecards are not new for healthcare systems, but we don't have one at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And a balanced scorecard typically says, how well are we doing? What are the challenges and what are the risks? And we do this by breaking the health system down into what we call service delivery, the clinical services. And this includes things like quality, efficiency, responsiveness, caring and well-led clinical services. And then we look at infrastructure, IT, staffing and finances. And a balanced scorecard says for each of those areas, how well are we doing? Are we safe? Are we effective? Are we financially sustainable? How are the teams doing on the engineering? Are we maintaining the building? Are we maintaining the equipment? So it's an important document which says, how are we doing right now? And going forward as we build it out, it'll give us trends. Are we improving or are we getting worse? And if we're getting worse, then we can put interventions in place in a timely manner to address it. So the first document then, what we did was this governance framework, and that says, how do we operate? And that second document, the balanced scorecard, that says, how are we doing? And then after both of those, we'd move on to the strategy. Where are we going? And that's where we're at the moment. So we have a draft strategy produced now. We shared the draft strategy initially with the teams at the town hall event.
Our QEH town hall, yes, on Thursday.
And Shane did some nice interactive tools to capture the feedback from the staff members. And from there on now, we'll start to capture the strategy that we've drafted out as an initial document. Are we going in the right direction? Is it what the public want? Is it what the staff want? And do they understand it? And that's a really important element of understanding the strategy. And the strategy, I always say, is just words. It means nothing unless we do something with it. So it's the actions that follow the strategy that become the real important part. But having the strategy is really important because it does provide the roadmap as to where do we plan to go over the next 3 years. What are my objectives for the next 3 years? How will I cascade those objectives down to the directors over the next 3 years? And how will they cascade those down to their department managers and the individual staff on the front line? So everybody's aligned as to what the strategy is and how it works for them. Over the next few weeks, Shane, I've asked if we could maybe bring the directors along to this meeting.
And we will.
And we can discuss each of those individual sections in detail with the directors who are responsible for the elements of that, be that engineering or IT services.
And the Chief Operations Officer, she's responsible for a number of directorates, so she will be coming through. And as you said, Paula Agbu, our Director of Engineering, there are some important initiatives which lie under her as well. The workforce is very important.
Absolutely.
And that's where we will bring Director Susan Reeves of the Human Resources Department, and the list continues. But what you are doing through all of these, the governance framework, the balanced scorecard, and now the strategy, you're making all of us from top down more accountable to serve the people of Barbados. I think that's the impetus.
Absolutely. And that's the job of each and every person at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. We serve the population of Barbados. We're here to serve the population and probably their most needy time. and we have to make sure that we're able to do that well. But to do that, we have to be clear of what is our role. What is the role of everybody in the hospital? How do they contribute to ensuring that the hospital's doing the right things? And that's where we're trying to take it to.
Indeed. You can call us and have your say on what we're talking about here today, the draft strategy 2025 to 2028. It is the vision for the hospital being presented by the Chief Executive Officer, Neil Clark. Those numbers to call, 434-1007. You can also call 434-1070, and you also have the option to WhatsApp us at 434-1007. Now, a number of things have been happening at the hospital under your tenure. We've been looking at some new equipment. We've been looking at some funding to really execute the delivery and the presentation of that new equipment, and also the operationalization of it as well. Talk a bit about that impetus on the new equipment side.
So I'm really excited that already, before the strategy is even produced, we've already got a number of things happening in the hospital. Probably the biggest one for us, excuse me, probably the biggest one for us is the health information system. When we get the health information system, which we've not had in the hospital before, we'll be able to see activity immediately. And one of the challenges I have at the moment is, without activity, without data, it's very hard to make a good decision. So we have to get the data collected and available to us, and the implementation of the health information system will enable this, and it will streamline how the clinicians work within the hospital. It will help develop the pathways through the hospital, and it will just capture things in real time, as opposed to currently the manual data collection by going through numerous files. And I know from complaints I hear about patient records and the files not being available because those files might be out with a doctor at the time somebody's looking for them. Having everything available real time with multiple access points will be a game changer for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And there's a number of other developments going on which are really important too. So we have a number of new staff. The Prime Minister announced some additional staffing. We have a number of additional staff coming into the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in some of the key areas where some of the key challenges currently exist. And there, for example, the Accident and Emergency Department. The waiting times in there are too long. It's not a good service with those waiting times. It's not a good patient experience. The team in there do their best to prioritise the patients for clinical needs and manage them through the department, but the waiting times are too long. Additional doctors, senior doctors, will be recruited to work within the A&E department to help us manage that flow through the department. We've also got additional clinical staff coming in to support the theatres, so we can get more activity through the theatre department. We've got a big piece of equipment on its way to us, the linear accelerator, which will transform how we deliver oncology services, and that's already started to arrive on the island, and over the next few months will start to be brought together, built into the infrastructure of the building, and some works are being completed or being tendered for at the moment. Civil works to enable the linear accelerator to move into the building, and then we can start to commission it. So that will be really fascinating for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital to offer those services to the population.
There's something else I will ask you to highlight in a matter of moments. Let's go to the phone lines. We have our first caller for the morning. Welcome, caller, to the Pulse Radio Show. Hope you're well. What's your question or comment?
I am alive, but I'm not well.
Oh.
Good morning to you and your guests.
Yes.
Good morning.
I didn't hear what you were talking about.
So we were talking about the 2025 to 2028 strategy. But your question, whatever it's about, it is valid for us, and we want to hear your concern.
Thank you. Since I spoke to you, if you remember, last Monday.
I do remember the voice.
And I left a message for Dr. Greenwich to contact me. There were one or two people that called it, but they didn't call. They didn't. If they did, I don't know because I was in hospital.
Oh.
Like the gentleman just said, the waiting time is very long. I was in pain up to. It took like 3 days before I actually got anything for pain.
Wow.
One of the things I want to know, I can't remember before, that's the truth, is when you are leaving the hospital and it's in the morning hours where the dispensary is closed. I don't know if it is not a policy of the hospital to give you medication, or at least some of your medication, until the next day for your, or the next couple of days for your, to get it, to get your medication changed from there.
Okay, good question.
Because I had problems with that, and it was uncalled for with all the flare up and this and whatnot. So I had to explain to the nurses, there's no need to behave like that. It's just that I live alone, and I'm going home in pain.
Yeah.
And the doctor did say to give me something for the pain. I said so that can take me through, and I will get a neighbor or something to get my medication for me today. Which eventually they did give me something, but it was in liquid form for the pain. But I had to wait nearly 3 days to get that as well. And I was being discharged. But I do, besides that, I must say the ambulance that came for me, the paramedics, were excellent. The behavior was a little wait, but you wait until you can get it.
Understood.
This, you wait until you can't push anything. They did call. They kept calling me, stay with me because of my condition. It was part heart, but not dealing with the heart directly. And when they came, they helped me to lift my things because I was unable to walk as well. And they were very polite. They even made a little joke where I was able to laugh. And that was the last time, because, Shane, I must tell you, please don't turn up the AC in there. I will have to bring my winter clothes.
Your blanket. I keep telling everyone, the AC has been installed for your comfort. I know it can be a bit cold, but if you can, it's always best if you can to walk with a little cover up, a little blanket, probably a coat, because the opposite, when you feel how hot outside is, we don't want anyone to be in that uncomfortable feeling.
Well, everybody was crying about the cold. It really was too cold, and I had on pieces because I'm familiar with the cold down there. So I carried my winter coat, but under that I had on pieces, and I was freezing.
All right, we'll ask engineering. We'll ask Director Agbu to address that. We really want to thank you for sharing your experience with us.
Okay.
We're glad to hear
and
that.
Please, my compliments to the paramedics that came for me on Friday.
I was just about to say.
It was about. I didn't get the name because it was all, it was just pain. It was kind of a rush, but it was. I got there for 3 o'clock, so I think they came about 22. So it's that team that came for me, and I would like to tell them thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, and we'll do our best to find that team for you and thank them. And we always welcome the good news and the bad news. So telling the paramedics that they've done a great job, and we can pass that on, but also the bad news that you had to wait to get your medications dispensed. We do have a home delivery service. I'm not sure why you wasn't informed of that, but you're absolutely right. I wouldn't expect you to be leaving the ward in pain without medications, and that's why it's really important for us to capture patient feedback, because when we don't get it right, we want to go back and have a look. Why didn't we get that right? Why were we letting you leave there without pain medication? So I do welcome these kind of feedback, and thank you very much for letting us have that. And I think you said that Christine, Dr. Greenidge, the Chief Operating Officer, had your contact details. So I'll try and follow up with her on your individual case, just to make sure we've got that in the system, in the complaints department, and we can investigate that further to make sure nobody else has the same experience you have.
Yes, and maybe you can
the
also...
doctor was to leave Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
The
go ahead.
doctor on discharge, he was to leave. I was to follow up with the ENT. He told me he made an appointment today, and on his clinic for tomorrow. But then when the head nurse had checked, nothing was written. So I am kind of in loss, in limbo to find out, because it's kind of an urgent situation, to find out how I can get the doctor, and in order to get my appointment to get the, but he did say he made an appointment, and I told him, well, could you write that down so at least I would know? I don't just want to come down to the hospital, I don't know where I'm going.
Sure.
Yeah, so what you can do to follow up on that, I'll give you this number. I am not sure if I gave you it last week.
5364800.
Yes, you got it right. 5364800. Call that number and you can give the doctor or medical professional on the line your details so that they can find out that information for you. And then for the medication delivery, because we want to make it as convenient for you as
What
possible.
happened? I know the delivery part of it,
Yeah.
but what happened is I left in the morning hours, like I left in the morning time where, it's late morning.
Right, and the pharmacy will normally be closed by then, and the
Yeah, for sure.
the CEO will discuss some upcoming initiatives that will address situations like yours going forward.
Yeah, 'cause I had
because
to
the
come home
facility
in
is moving
pain.
to a whole other level to deal with situations like yours. But for the medication delivery, that is pretty quick. They really get on the patient's case very fast to make sure that you have your full suite of medication, and just before you're running out, that you can get that next delivery. So for
Yes.
that medication delivery service, it's 536-4804. 536-4804, Monday to Friday between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. You can place your order.
Okay, thank you so much to you and your guests.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Shane,
for
if I
sharing your
could just
experience.
pick up on a general matter there.
Yes.
So one of the things that frustrates me a little bit in the hospital at the moment is how we're managing our complaints and our quality. So whilst there's individuals in those teams doing a really good work, it's not to me synced together. So what we've been doing over the last few months is having a look at the different functions of quality in a hospital and how we can manage that better. So what is quality? What is a safe hospital? So we're trying to work the different teams, and there's teams who respond to patient complaints. There's different teams who do investigations with the doctors on clinical incidents. There's different teams who do root cause analysis, clinical audits, and how we bring all that together in one is something that I've asked our Chief Operating Officer to do. I know she's drafted a paper where we can have a revised total quality review of how we manage complaints and quality incidents. And it's really important, because if we spend a lot of time having to respond to issues, that means we're not actually being able to deliver services. But I'm saying that, at the same time, I want to hear the issues, because we need to know where we're getting it wrong. I know already a number of places where we're getting it wrong, and we're making plans to address that. But I always urge people, if something didn't work well, let us know. We don't take it as criticism, although it may be from your point of view. I take it as learning. I want to learn from that. And at the same time, of course, when the team get it right, as mentioned just before, let the team know that they appreciate that feedback.
On either side of the coin, it's all about improvement and improving the way we do things. And I want to pick up on something that you just said, CEO, after this caller here on the line. Welcome, caller, to the Pulse Radio Show.
How are you doing?
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning. How are you, Mr. CEO?
I'm good, thank you.
Glad to hear that. Fantastic. Well, let me congratulate you on your services based on your last 6 months. It's been a wonderful time. I really appreciate all of the care, and I just actually came from the hospital, so I want to thank you so much for that care as well. Fantastic service. Brilliant, really it is. Wonderful, fantastic. Listen, Shane, I had one point, but a couple of points this morning based on the last call as well.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, why CEO doesn't the hospital become its own really bio eco space where you have services such as the police, you're feeding into the or courts, why don't you have on site something so that you make it a complete space, so that for future events, where you have another pandemic such as just as we had COVID, that you're able to meet the emergency, the need, that you're able to level up and to bountiful level up to be able to cause for, the aspect of a Department of Future then. Why don't you have a Department of Future? Talk to me about that. I have another question and finish, please. Thank you.
Okay, well, go ahead with your other question and let the CEO answer both of them one time.
Thank you. Right, so my second question has to do with the aspect of mental health, and I would have attended a mental health session there on the
last Thursday.
Yeah, thank you. Last Thursday for Mental Health Day, and there was a wonderful lecture there by Dr. Ronald Chase. Fantastic, Dr. Brilliant. Let me thank him for his service to me. Listen, he said that we're having a mental health policy now in the workplace, that government is going to facilitate that for the hospital. What is the hospital doing to cater to the new patients, to the new nurses and to the new doctors in the A&E especially? Why don't you pay them on commission so that when they do good service, so that then they're able to, facilitate our mental health, that they're able then to be paid based on what they do, so that when they get it right, they're paid more, but when they get it wrong, they're paid less. Those are my two questions, please. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,
caller.
If I could take the latter one first, I love the idea of payment by results and payment for quality, but where we are at the moment is that's not how the funding stream works at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, and as an entity, we still are managed by the Government Health and Human Resource Act. And so our ability to change terms and conditions and our ability to change payments is limited. But that is something that we will explore going forward as to how the Queen Elizabeth Hospital can become more standalone and how it can maybe then move to having its own ways of reimbursing staff and being paid for activity. But that's not going to be coming in the next 1-2 years. That's a longer term plan. On the first one about co-locating different facilities within the hospital, I love co-locations. Co-locations are great where we can fit them in, but unfortunately the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, we're limited for space, so that's going to be a real challenge. But I do take that point, and as we move some of the other services around, we will look at that, and have already had that discussion with the police about having the police co-located in the hospital. But of course they've got a new building not too far from the hospital where they're currently embedded in. But yes, co-location where we can, absolutely.
Indeed. You'll also see some videos where the CEO would have met with a senior member of the Barbados Police Service, looking at security and enhancing what we do there, making sure that patients are safe. That will be shared. Of course, you can check all of these things out on our website, that's www.qehconnect.com, and on our social media pages as well. We will definitely share all of these activities there. You're listening to the Pulse Radio Show, produced by the Queen Elizabeth Hospital and the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. We'll take a break. Of course, a big thank you to our sponsors, MedSafe Medical Supplies.
For all your medical supply needs, visit MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmett's Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited, your trusted source for medical essentials.
Welcome back to the Pulse Radio Show. I'm Shane C., the Communications Specialist with the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Alongside me is our Chief Executive Officer, Neil Clark. Of course, he's been in with us for 6 months, leading the charge and trying to ensure a new future as we also celebrate our 60th anniversary. The hospital is 60 years old and going strong, serving the needs of Barbadians. There's so much happening at the hospital. Another new piece of equipment that we received, because philanthropy, I'll say people have been very good to us, especially in the diaspora. We've seen a number of teams there working to ensure that we have critical pieces of equipment. We even have a connection with the Chinese medical team and China, the Chinese government, who have been gracious to offer us medical services for 7 years running. I think a bit more than that. And an important piece of equipment that we would get in our accident and emergency department to enhance the way we do things there is that CT scanner. That's another game changer.
Yeah, so absolutely. And the A&E department is probably one of the biggest users of all our diagnostics, so X-ray and CT scannings. So the CT scanning machine is here. We're waiting for some parts, and we should be able to bring that online quite soon. And that will enable faster diagnostics then taking place within the A&E department, which will obviously benefit the patients. One of the challenges currently for the diagnostics is that the patient in A&E has to be taken from the A&E department up to the diagnostics unit, have the diagnostics and come back down. Keeping it all local will make that a much simpler and smoother process and should speed up the waiting times for the patients.
Indeed. And that's what your strategy is also based on, as the caller would have mentioned previously about her waiting time, her waiting experience.
Yes. It's all about patient flow, and nobody should be waiting for anything that they don't need to wait for. Now, if you have to wait while some blood cultures are grown to check on your pathology, that's understandable. But if you're waiting and there's no purpose for the wait, then we need to eradicate those waits. So we need to get better at following the patient through the system, finding out where those blockages are and tackling them. And I always say it's about fixing the root cause of a problem as opposed to fixing the problem itself. And let me give the example that I give to some of the teams. If the boat's sinking, you can either start throwing the water over the top, get your bucket and start bailing out, or you could try and fix the hole where it's leaking. And I think sometimes what we do is we start bailing the water and we don't actually fix the hole of where the leakage is. So I'm very keen on moving forward and identifying what those blockages are. And to do that, we've actually identified, or we've commissioned 4 new staff members whose job is specifically to do that. They're called service improvement managers. Their job will be to follow the patients through the system, identify where there's challenges and blockages, and take that forward by putting changes in to address that. Having those people, and especially when the health information system comes along, which gives us real data, will really help us move the patients through the system much better, and then there's no waits for the patients.
We've got 2 callers on the line. The callers are coming in very quickly. We thank you for your reaction, your responses, and just sharing your thoughts on what we are doing at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And your concerns as well are very important for us because we want to know how we can help. Welcome, caller, to the Pulse Radio Show.
Yeah, good morning, Shane.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
To the CEO, my emphasis stress on I like to have a sense of humor, see?
There's nothing wrong with that. That keeps us smiling and keeps you healthy.
But I have 2 complaints.
Go ahead. We welcome those as well.
That when the ambulance comes, sometimes they come too late and then they keep you out there outside waiting for assessment. I feel that when they get here too late, that they should try and get you down to the hospital as soon as possible. Then when you get out of the hospital now, before you go upstairs and see the doctor, you have to go back through that same assessment. Then when you get upstairs now, you have to answer back those same questions. So you have to have a real good memory, because the doctor read those very same questions.
Well, I'll tell you this.
So if I don't know why they do that, so maybe that's a lot of time wasted.
I'll let the CEO explain to you, because that, what you mentioned right there, is a very, very important process. You can't imagine how critical that is, especially for identification, but just about knowing patient particulars. CEO, you want to double down on that?
So absolutely. They need to make sure they've got the right patient all the way through your journey, but the amount of questions you're being asked is a duplication. And when we get the health information system, that information will already be there. So we'll already know who you are, we'll already know your date of birth and your name. So really then it's just about confirming that, confirming 2 questions with you, probably your date of birth and your name or your ID number. Two questions, and they'll know who you are. And the system, the health information system, this computer system, it will have captured what the ambulance service captured on you. It would have captured what the A&E department did to you and what tests were done and diagnostics were done. It would capture what happened on the ward or at an outpatient clinic. All the information will be available immediately for everybody to see, and therefore they don't have to go back asking you for your full address and all your other details of your illness and your injury. But of course it is important that they do keep checking that they've got the right person and that the condition hasn't changed. So there will always be a duplication of some questions, but we can certainly make that a simpler process with the health information system.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, I'm saying, I was about to say, I hope that answers your question about the duplication of the process, but as the CEO said, the health information system would help to address that.
If the ambulance arrived late,
Right, on the ambulance arriving...
Although he explained that their responsibility to get you down to the hospital as soon as possible.
Right, so they have their processes to go through to make sure that they get you...
I heard it with that.
No, not only that, I'm talking about into the ambulance safely, because they have to make sure that... Our job, the hospital's job, is to make sure that you come in and you get the best treatment so that you're able to get back home and recover and be your best self once again. Yeah. But the only way that we can do that is if we follow our training and procedures as well.
My second question is the lady talk about it there just now.
Right.
Unless, especially if you have to wait long hours, that air conditioner really won't take it down. If you're going to be sure, you can stay. That's why I would say to that. Quite be really cool in there.
I got a question for you. Would you prefer the opposite?
Yeah, anyhow, you all keep up the good work and enjoy.
Yeah,
thank you. Yes.
And just on the point of the ambulance response times, I mean, part of that balanced scorecard is to track how fast we're responding and are we meeting the targets that we've set. And if we're not, and there's a deterioration, then we can intervene within that. But we are aware that there's more ambulances coming, and there's staff coming, and there's the staff coming being trained currently.
Indeed. We have another caller on the line. Welcome, caller, to the Pulse Radio Show. What's your question or comment?
Good morning, Cian. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
CEO.
Yes, the CEO. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
I have 2 points I'd like to make, and then a concern I'd like to raise. And the 2 points I'd like to make has to do with current incident recently. There was a situation recently where my family member was admitted to the hospital with kidney stones, which, as you gentlemen would know, is one of the most excruciating pains in the world. I personally had it myself, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody else. This young man was kept in the hospital for almost a week, and I visited him to find out what was happening, and I learned that he was actually getting pain medicine, including I can't remember the name of that thing, not cocaine. It was the one that they give you when
morphine.
Morphine. That's great. Thank you very much. Morphine. Subsequently, this young man, because he was told, well, we are not going to perform surgery. He was originally going to have surgery.
Right.
Then he was told, we are not going to perform surgery. We are just going to manage your pain, and then you go back to your doctor. Incidentally, it was his doctor who told him, when you get this pain, you need to go to the hospital. However, that process ran. He was discharged from the hospital, and he went back to his doctor. Now, the part that really bothered me was that he was then told that he could get surgery, but it was going to cost him $22,000, which he was not in a position to pay. Subsequently, he had the problem again, and thankfully, he was readmitted to the hospital, and he got surgery.
Right.
Okay? Now, so my question to you in a situation like that is, if we have doctors who are both consultants privately and working with the hospital, isn't it possible that a problem can be developing where patients are often told, well, we can't do this and we can't do the next because the hospital's equipment is not working, but I can do it for you, okay? and in 2 days or 3 days or a week later, the surgery can be had for a specific sum of money. Now, I know that the hospital, and I know that in any institution there are anomalies. But if you are paying taxes and you are going to go to a public hospital which is supposed to provide you with certain services, my question to you is, if in a situation like that, the hospital is not in a position, because the equipment is not working or whatever, to give you the treatment, then shouldn't they be responsible financially in some way if I had to go to get the treatment privately?
Yes.
You can answer that question after. I wouldn't hold you up by waiting for you to give me the answer. The other thing that I'm also concerned about, and let me add the other concern to that point because it's kind of synonymous. The fact is that I'm concerned that we could have a situation where the hospital is becoming a production line. Because you go into the hospital and with the same situation existing, you're going to get turnover so quickly. 10 minutes in this room, 10 minutes in that room, 10 minutes in that room, and you're out. Can you be properly assessed in a situation like that? And then you said, well, go back to your private doctor, and you go back to your private doctor, and the same situation occurs. You now have to find money, significant money, to pay for treatment that I believe should be offered publicly in the hospital. I understand that expense is a problem. I understand that you get your funding from the government, and the government has challenges. But certainly, if an institution is supposed to be providing care, inpatient care for the citizens of Barbados, they have to do better than that. And finally, again, an experience that occurred recently that I don't believe should ever happen in a hospital, the standard of Queen Elizabeth, where an elderly person was in the hospital who was very, very ill, having a serious problem. Now, when she went in the hospital, unfortunately, she had a bed sore. Would you believe that no attention was given to her for that bed sore? And in fact, when the private nurse who was assisting her endeavored to provide her with attention, her daughter had to come back home and get equipment to clean that bed sore. Now tell me, sir, Mr. CEO, is that proper care for people who helped to build this country? I don't think so.
No,
and we have to be careful,
I agree
sir,
with you. I agree with you.
We have to be careful, sir, that we don't have a problem in the hospital where, because, and I know I'm very, very aware of what's happening in Barbados. I read a lot and I listen carefully. I know that there are people who are bringing elderly people to the hospital and unwisely leaving them for you to care for them. But we have to be careful that we don't have a Peter Pair for all situation. And when elderly people come into the hospital, they're not being treated compassionately and empathetically because of that particular situation. And I hope that in your strategic planning, that you address some of these things, because the elderly people in Barbados deserve much better. I thank you very much for your indulgence, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. The elderly people deserve the best of care that we can give them, and obviously the best of respect that we can give them, because these are our elders. It is a challenge that some are being left at the hospital, but it wouldn't be my view that the teams in the hospital don't look after them just because they were left there. We should and we will always have to give them the best care possible. We do actually capture details on pressure sores, and so it's unusual that the instance that you've mentioned would happen. But it would be then probably within the information that I receive, because obviously there's always going to be some. But I don't think that experience that member of the public had would be typical of the bed sores and the management of those within the hospital, because it's quite a high profile one within the nursing division. And we'll be bringing on to the show in a few weeks' time our director of nursing, and maybe we'll get him to explain that a little bit more. You mentioned earlier on about public patients and private patients. Well, absolutely. Everybody who's paid their taxes is paying for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, and the services for them should be free at the point of entry. If we're unable to provide the services because we don't have certain equipment, we'll review and, if required, send patients abroad for that treatment, or into the private sector if required. I have heard stories of people saying that they were told that they could only get the treatment at Queen Elizabeth Hospital if they paid a fee, and if that ever happens, I would like to know about that. There is, of course, a balance, isn't there, between using the public funds to pay for those who haven't got the private insurance, and taking that additional income from the private insurance for those who do have it. So I'm a firm believer that there should be a choice, and if you have private insurance, then you can use that private insurance to maybe move a little bit faster. But ideally what I'd like to see is that nobody's waiting a long time in the first place. So we have to bring down those waiting times to make sure nobody's waiting a long time in the first place, and then maybe that would just push people straight into the public. If you're in doubt as to whether a service is available or whether you're being the best advice, Shane gave you the number earlier on. I always say call that number and ask the question, and don't be afraid of asking the question. Don't be afraid of it. We want to investigate and understand what's happening, and it's very hard when I hear the stories you're telling me, which I fully believe those experiences have happened, but it's very hard for me to investigate it unless somebody's called in and I have a name and a date of birth, and then I can go and have a track and say, well, what really happened to that patient? Did it happen as it appears to have happened? And is there something that I need to do to put that right?
Yes, and there is one thing I would add to that, CEO, because we've received complaints through social media as well. People go and have their rants on social media. We are trying to encourage you, the public. Come to us and let us investigate your complaint and let us take action.
Yes,
it's your choice to do that, but it would be better, and you would get a better response to your complaint if you come directly to us.
And I know on that matter that one of the complaints you get is the time it takes to respond to the complaint. And again, that comes back down to the fact that we don't have a computer system in the hospital, what I call that health information system, which means that there's a file, a patient's file, which could be with the doctor, could be with the secretary, could be back in the healthcare records. The files are tracked around the hospital. But if multiple people need to review the file to investigate the complaint, it does unfortunately take some time. And again, with the health information system, we can all look at the file instantly, and we can all see it concurrently. We can all look at the same time at the same file immediately, and I think that will also then make it much better for the public, that when they do have put a complaint in, we can respond to that complaint much faster. And I do appreciate the frustration that if you put a complaint in and you're having to wait weeks and weeks for them to try and gather the different bits of information required from the different teams who were involved in that patient's care, unfortunately at the moment it does take time.
Yes. To give your feedback for those complaints, you can again go to our website, and you go to the bottom of the page and you'll see a section saying your feedback matters. You can click that link and it will take you right to the clinical risk management unit. But they also have some numbers that you can call through our PBX. Our PBX is 436-6450. You can call that the extension for the clinical risk department so that you can make a complaint. 5234 5247 5248, Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and you can send an email to crmu@qeh.gov.bb. and once you go on our website, you have all of those options that you can see there clearly outlined and detailed, so that you can make that contact. That contact is very important, so that then we can carry out those investigations, hear what the complaint was, understand it, and find out how we can improve. In any case that we have to apologize, we will do that, because we're not perfect. We're human. We all make errors. But at the hospital, we have to reduce the number of errors we make in the interest of patient care.
All about learning. It's all about learning, and we can learn from your experiences.
Yes, indeed. You're listening to the Pulse Radio Show on Q100.7 FM. Those numbers to call 434-1007 or 434-1070. You can also WhatsApp us at 434-1007. We really thank you for those calls and contributions today. They mean the world to us. They help us to improve our service. Some other initiatives happening at the hospital, CEO, that you want to update the public on?
Yeah, so we've mentioned about the health information system, which I think will be the game changer. We've mentioned about the linear accelerator, which will significantly improve the way we can manage oncology patients. We've mentioned about the CT scanner in the A&E department, and I've mentioned about additional staff coming into the hospital to support key clinical areas to improve waiting times. We've also got what's called capital expenditure coming down. So we've got a big lump of money coming to the hospital to pay for new equipment in the hospital. And that will be us purchasing over 400 items of new equipment, which we're really excited about, because some of the equipment we have got is dated and old, and some of it's broken. So this additional equipment will be really welcome, and that will be coming in over the next year as we bring in all this new equipment. So we're going to have a hospital going forward with new equipment, state-of-the-art oncology services, more staff able to manage the waiting times, service improvement managers and teams able to work their way through those waiting times and follow the patient pathways and reduce any delays, a revised quality team structure to manage complaints and ensure that we've got continuous learning and improving our quality. So lots of exciting things happening ahead at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And another one that I haven't mentioned is we're out at the moment to tender to fix the roof of the Lions Eye Care Centre. And once that roof has been fixed, then we can reopen the 3 theatres within that area and bring in more patients through that particular section for the ophthalmology teams, who have got some of the longest waiting times and would be really appreciative of having that additional theatre time to help manage their patients. So again, lots of exciting things coming, and as we do that, as we make those changes, and those changes build into the strategy, as we make those changes, we've got to keep delivering the services today. So it's a fine balancing act, delivering the service today and bringing these new changes, and at the same time we've got to keep our staff motivated and supported. When people talk about the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, some people see a building. I see the staff, because they are the hospital. It's all those individuals doing all those different jobs that all contribute towards patient experience and patient safety. So we have to work closely with the staff. We had an interesting session at the last town hall where we talked about the fish project.
Yes. We encourage anyone to go and take a look at it. Probably we can put it out on our social media as well, because I think it's good for any organization, QEH or otherwise, in terms of building morale and building team effort and teamwork at any institution.
Absolutely. It talks about trying to have fun at work. So you spend a lot of your time in the workplace. We need to make it a fun place, not a toxic place. But we need to make sure that we're there and we're present for the patients. And then that's about choosing your attitude. You can come to work miserable, or you can come to work happy. And what we obviously want is the right attitude, so we're trying to promote choose your attitude. So that's our way of trying to engage the staff, because they do a tremendous job, often under a lot of pressure, and we have to do our bit to help them manage their days and improve their working lives. And again, at a future radio show, as you said before, we'll bring in the Director of Human Resources, and she can outline the plans for what we're doing for improving our staff engagement and improving the services for our staff.
And we'll also have that Director of Engineering, Paula Agbuwu, to speak about that new equipment. We have some callers on the line waiting. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the Pulse Radio Show. How are you doing? What's your question or comment?
Good morning. I would like also that, along with having people qualified in their medical field as well, that, you teach them empathy, bedside manner, etiquette in dealing with disgruntled, patients and their relatives as well. And I find that is what a lot of not only the Queen Elizabeth Hospital is lacking, but even in customer service and customer care, because, you come across so many different walks of life and walks of people that you still have to be empathetic when dealing with certain stuff as well, because everyone doesn't handle everything the same way. And I find that is very much lacking in the staff at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. That is one thing that you should, look at, because it's like Peter pay for Paul and Paul pay for all, because the same way how you say one person, they're not going to look at that one person, they're going to look at everyone. They're going to say it's everything. Another question as well too, I had an experience with a relative as well. She has passed, and I was having back and forth and a lot of red tape in receiving her body. I think that you all should also teach everyone the right fields and the right passage on going through, instead of everyone saying talk to this person, the next person say talk to that person, and talk to the next person. No one knows what is really going on inside of the workplace. I think that it should be a more togetherness in dealing with certain stuff, in being swiftly with certain items and information, because you're getting put through to this person, next person, next person. Then it's frustrating for both the person that is dealing with it and the staff members as well. And I think that will make things more swiftly in handling and getting off information as well, so that it won't be so much red tape and yellow tape in dealing with certain stuff. Absolutely.
Let me pick up that latter point. I heard that also. So what we've done already is I receive a weekly report now showing me the movements of patients out of the mortuary. So already that information comes through to me, so I can keep an eye on it, and I can ensure that when there's any delays of releasing bodies or any red tape in there, I can capture that. So I heard that from a complaint. And as we say, we hear complaints, and it's not just capturing them and capturing the numbers, it's what do we do with that. So I spoke with the team down there to understand what the challenges were, understood some of their challenges and gave them some advice on how to manage them. But I also said that I wanted to be copied in on the weekly report, to create a weekly report and copy me into it, so I can then intervene when I see there's delays happening. And on the very first point you made about looking after patients and caring for patients, within the strategy we have a whole section on caring. You're absolutely right. This is a caring profession. It's a hospital. We're dealing with people at their most vulnerable times. We have to be caring. Saying it is one thing, making that happen is a different thing. So we have to take those words into actions. What are we going to do at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital to ensure all the clinical teams and the non-clinical teams are providing the best caring services? So understand your concerns and be assured it's within the strategy, and that will lead to actions to further improvements on that.
Indeed. We have another call. Welcome to the Pulse Radio Show. We have a few minutes more. Let's get one more caller in. What's your question or comment?
Hello.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Pulse Radio Show.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning. You have a question for us?
Yes. I would like to see a better dress code for the orderlies. I find they're very untidy, and they should be properly dressed instead of scrubs. Put them in a shirt and pants and proper shoes.
Thank you for that suggestion. Anything else?
No. Thank you.
Okay, we appreciate your comment there about the orderlies.
I missed the last bit. They want to put them into
a nice shirt and pants.
Pants, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we are running through the uniforms, and I think it's an important matter.
Yeah.
The uniforms in the hospital. The uniforms should be clear who the staff are. So a nursing uniform versus an orderly's uniform versus, so it should be very clear to people, what uniform represents what profession the individual's in, and that's rolling out as we speak. So the uniforms are being ordered, because I'll be honest, I was in the A&E department and I was confused at who I was speaking to because of the different uniforms that are in there. So already that one's being tackled and being addressed, and the uniforms will be being rolled out as we speak already. I think people are being measured up, and we'll move those uniforms out. So again, as we move forward, we'll have clarity on who are you speaking to in the department. A nurse, a healthcare assistant, an orderly. It'll become much clearer.
I know the public may ask if they would have a chance to get a view of the QEH strategy, the draft strategy. What do you think about that?
Yes, absolutely. So what we will do is currently be doing an internal consultation with the staff, and absolutely we'll follow it up then with a public consultation once we think we've got that right. We'll put it out to the public because we want to hear, have we got it right? Have we missed something? Is there something else that we need to do? Absolutely, we'll consult with the public.
A public QEH town hall coming soon, possibly?
Yes.
Maybe. Well, we will definitely keep you informed, and of course we will share all of the information with you. After all, it is our hospital. We really want to thank you for listening to today's show with the Chief Executive Officer, Neil Clark. A lot more in store, and of course we will share it right here with you on Q100.7 FM. Our next show, we will have one of our directors in to share their story about what they're doing as part of the 2025 to 2028 strategy. And you know that you can always bring your questions, your concerns, and your complaints and share them right here with us. We will respond to you and make sure we send you in the right direction. And you can always call our patient advice and liaison service. That number is 536-4800 with any of your queries, complaints, or concerns, and they will be able to direct you as well. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
It has been a good one, a good hour spending some time with you and with you, our audience, our listeners, right here on the Pulse Radio Show. Remember, we are coming to a screen near you. More to come on that. I'm Shane Seeley. Goodbye for now.
The QEH Pulse Radio Show brought to you with the compliments of MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited.
For all your medical supply needs, visit MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmett's Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. MedSafe Medical Supplies Limited, your trusted source for medical essentials.